Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is someone who is having trouble getting out of that being fooled trap. They feel that they have been so fooled and so deceived that they are just very embarrassed, and they want to know how to get out of that vibe, that mindset. When we talk about relationships with someone who has antisocial personality disorder, someone who could be psychopathic, someone who, like Dr. Robert Hare says, is an intraspecies predator, someone who lacks conscience, someone who lacks remorse or regret, someone who is prone to really high risk behaviors, someone who has a pathological sense not only of self-importance but a facility of tongue and is charismatic and uses this ability to harm, ruin, damage, or destroy others and just leave them, damaged, leave them without attention, leave them without checking in, without apologies, without getting it. Is to understand that these people, because of their wiring in their prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain which is able to reason and plan and have a vision for moving forward and helps you with judgment and morality and being able to learn from situations, there's a real disconnect for someone who's psychopathic in this area. There's a load of different studies that point to the sort of culmination of situations that makes this situation within an individual. And also just the way that their amygdala works, the way that the dopamine works in, the neurochemistry, perhaps even a higher prevalence of testosterone, the integration sort of hormone, and the dopamine connection where they're rewarded. Once they want something, they're heavily rewarded by it. So it gives them this sort of ability, and some perceive it as a talent to do things that are high risk that other people could not and would not, or physiologically couldn't do. Physiologically, I could not pathologically lie to somebody like that. I just couldn't do it. It would not make sense, So it's oftentimes unfathomable the degree to which they look a certain way on the outside, but it ain't the same way on the inside. You need to understand and put your sort of emotional glasses on and see, what you have experienced and how you've been fooled is because it is just due to the way that this person moves through life. You happen to come into contact, with this individual. That's kind of the way I see it. It's kind of like having a fender bender, that or something. It just becomes an emotional wreck. I mean, you encounter a destructive individual. But in the beginning, there's the love bombing, and oftentimes something very different, than what the relationship became as. So you have to understand that these people are masters of disguise. Masters of disguise. I mean, beyond the majority of the population, beyond what 96, 98% of the population are even composite or, chemically, their neurochemistry and their personality has the ability to do. They just have conscience. They have an emotional break. I can't do that. I won't do that. That's wrong. I wouldn't even want to do that. I wouldn't have the ability, no matter how much whatever, I wouldn't do it. They just have a conscience. They have morality. They have a sense of propriety, social psychological norms, group processing, being compliant with this, being, recognizing and being compliant and not having a problem with morality. This is right. I like what is right. I like what is good. I like what is wholesome. I like what is safe. All these different things that then why we have rules in society and norms to begin with. So if you are then feeling and identifying with being fooled, with feeling stupid, with feeling embarrassed, humiliated, and then angry. Realize that this is part of the coming to terms, and I think it's really coming to humility. You need to then embrace, rather than the obsession of trying to figure this person out, or the obsession of trying to continue to think like the psychopath, because oftentimes in the psychopathic relationship, I feel there's a tendency for people to abandon their own values and their own natural boundaries that they know to be right, but because they're so deceived, because they're so deluded by this individual, which is what they do, they delude others, they deceive, they have the ability, which is, there's an energetic field which emerges off of them, which causes kind of a flip of being able to see things clearly. I mean, I just call it kind of like throwing energy. The way that they have to twist things. In other words, they have an ability to transmute and sort of, I don't want to say teleport, but they have an ability to sort of change the way things are perceived in their target. So things no longer become a Starbucks, it becomes a something else. The color white no longer represents white, it means something else. Salt and pepper shakers no longer become salt and pepper shakers, it means something else. I mean, they have an ability, this is very odd, and unless you've ever encountered someone who is like this, who has brainwashed or gaslighted others and been deluded, it might sound very strange. But they just have this way the way that they talk to people and use neuro-linguistic programming, or really what is just based on the antisocial personality, they learn how to be manipulative of others' senses, if you will. They learn how to sort of control others' thought process and make connections therein. And it oftentimes feels like you've met your soulmate. People might interpret it this way. Well, because I feel this way and this change, wow, this is just fantastic. This is the love of my life. This is my soulmate. And then there you go. You're biting the hook, line, and the sinker. And then they're just sitting back and they're twiddling their thumbs and they're like, yep, got this one. Let's see where this one goes, and they will continue along those lines generally until you're dissatisfied or you expose them. You see through the mask falls off. You might see a completely different person. You might realize that they have double and triple lives. You think that they're living at one place, you think that they're, one thing, and then, it's just mind-boggling. So don't get caught up in that, I'm such a fool trap. Realize there's nothing that you could have done. It doesn't mean that you're naive, weak, etc. But you went along with this person for a specific reason. But now it's time to dust yourself off. Yes, you might have an open wound, but you have to understand, and I was thinking about this last night, that these occurrences are like a wound, like a literal physical wound. They're like an open, gashing sore, bleeding, etc. You need to put pressure on it. You need to hold it down. You need to stop the bleeding. You need to allow it to cauterize. You need to put a bandage or gauze or a cast. You need to protect and keep that wound clean. You need to seal it off from other damaging influences. That is what going no contact is about. It's like you might need to waddle your entire body up in gauze in order to heal. The emotional wound and hurt might be that profound. It might be very psychological as well. Realize that this will work out and you will be restored to your own humanity. You will feel normal, happy, peaceful, be able to giggle, laugh, and be unafraid again. Your happiness will be restored. Your being centered and being focused and being able to think properly will be restored. Your sense of being normal and self-love will be restored. It'll be restored, and it'll be restored for good once you go through the healing process. But you really need to embrace yourself and really protect yourself all around. Do a body scan and find out where the hurt really is. And if it's all your senses, including your thought and your fear, and you're on that hyper aroused state, realize that it's time for you to comfort yourself and resensitize yourself in all senses. Use your earbuds, play soft, meditative mind music. Find 432 hertz music, healing music that is just calming. Find beautiful places to look and absorb, good, and be around good, positive people. Get away from the instigators. Begin to give yourself healing foods, whether it's soup, whether it's your favorite macaroni and cheese or your favorite pasta, or maybe you just need a big, healthy steak to take care of yourself. Get back on track. Get the steak, get the potatoes, get the cooked carrots, give yourself a good meal. Get a fleece blanket, get pajamas, get a garden going, get a hobby going where you're building something and you're creating the constructive. Begin to make that part of your journey and realize that this is something you will emerge from in a more whole person, because you'll realize where the bite was taken off. And once you've been through that, you will be very cautious and very careful moving forward. You will not be enticed and seduced by that whole manner of type of relationship again. It's like a little puppy, while they're learning. They might have, played with a ball and they can go and get it under the sofa or under the table and then bring the ball back. But as the puppy gets bigger and the ball goes under the sofa, they're too big to go and get it anymore, and they'll just sit there whimpering and crying like, where's my ball? That is what healing is like. You'll be too grown to go back into that same crevice that got you fooled and had you running, and hiding before. It's not going to fit. Psychologically, you won't be able to jive with such abusers anymore. You will not tolerate it. You'll be able to identify it. You'll be able to say, nope, no thank you, not today, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, not looking back. The GPS, it's off, it can no longer revisit that. It is done. It no longer is alive for me anymore. So really understand the clarity and the commitment that is required to restructure that, and don't feel that self-deprecation, that self-sabotaging. I'm so stupid. I'm such a fool. I lost everything. At least you have escaped with your sensibility, and you are here. You are now. It's going to get better. Things will rebuild. You will create a stronger I am and recreate a stronger sense of presence within yourself, which will help you to carry yourself physiologically. You need to do the work. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Support each other. Be able to identify with others and be able to identify with the healing path moving forward. Support yourself, comfort yourself on this journey. It will get better. You will heal. You'll eventually be able to take that gauze off and it'll be able to air out. You will no longer have that gaping open wound to be further adulterated and re-injured. Have a beautiful day. Bless.